Welcome to Daily Devotions for Holy Week, led by staff members of St. Mark's Lutheran Church by the Narrows here in Tacoma. My name is Mark Gravrock, and I serve as Interim Associate Pastor. In keeping with our congregation's theme for this church year, which is our song from age to age, each of us will share a meditation on a Lenten song that has special meaning for us. We hope that it awakens you to the presence of God in your life this day, and to the love of God that is poured out for you and for all people in Jesus Christ. The song that I have chosen is Go to Dark Gethsemane. I invite you to dwell in the words and the melody as you hear it, and I will also share some reflections with you on how this song has touched my life. Go to Dark Gethsemane. Gethsemane is the name of the olive grove where Jesus prayed and struggled just before his arrest on that last night of his life. Gethsemane has captured me since my early childhood. The only picture that I remember from the walls of our childhood bedroom was the classic 1880 Heinrich Hoffmann painting of Christ in Gethsemane. You might know that one. Jesus is kneeling over a large rock slab, his hands clasped together across the stone. He gazes up anxiously into a dark sky, a sky thick with storm clouds, even as the moon appears to be trying to break through. It's not great art, and it's drenched in the piety of the late 19th century, but even so, that image is deeply lodged in my child's heart. In my childhood church, we also sang an old hymn, not this one, but a different one, The Hour in Dark Gethsemane. Some of you may know it, but it's pretty old by now and hasn't appeared in very many hymnals since that my childhood hymnal. The first verse goes like this. The hour in dark Gethsemane I never shall forget, where Christ alone the battle fought in grief and bloody sweat. Gethsemane, Gethsemane, I must remember thee, where God's eternal Son I saw in prayer on bended knee. The flavor of my childhood piety has grown and reshaped over the decades, but the deep heart connection with this Jesus who is willing to head straight into the storm for me, willing to drink the cup of death with me and for me, that heart connection remains living and powerful for me. The hymn Go to Dark Gethsemane captures that connection in a style that fits my adult faith more accurately. The hymn's 4 verses call us to walk alongside Jesus as he journeys through some key stations of Holy Week. Verse 1 is the Garden of Gethsemane. Verse 2, the judgment hall where Jesus is put on trial. Verse 3, the cross, Calvary's mournful mountain climb. And verse 4, the empty tomb. And then the 4 verses invite us to learn from Jesus, to learn to pray, to learn to bear the cross, to learn to die, and to receive the gift of rising anew. I invite you now to listen to the first 2 verses.
Go to dark Gethsemane, all who feel the tempter's power, your Redeemer's conflict see, watch with him one bitter hour, turn not from his griefs away, learn from Jesus Christ to pray. Follow to the judgment hall, view the Lord of life arise.
Before we listen to the rest of the hymn, I want to pause and pay attention to a double movement. On the one hand, this hymn invites us to follow Jesus into the heart of the storm and to learn from him how to journey trustingly through the hardest of times and out the other side into God's gift of resurrection. At the same time, the scriptures show us the opposite movement. God comes to journey with us into the heart of our own Gethsemanes, into our own times of anguished, hopeless prayer, into the heart of misunderstanding, accusation, and rejection, into our own desperate struggles of living and dying. The Jesus of Gethsemane is the living God with us, who will never leave us or forsake us. The Jesus of Gethsemane is God utterly committed to us in grace, no matter what the cost. The Jesus of Gethsemane is God who doesn't merely accompany us, but goes before us and indeed carries us. When verse 3 of the hymn stands at the cross and cries, "Mark that miracle of time, God's own sacrifice complete," the sacrifice is not some cold transaction offered to God. The sacrifice is God's gift of God's own self for us, through the heart of our own brokenness and grief, through the heart of death itself. So who follows whom in this hymn? Do we go with Jesus, or does Jesus go with us? Well, of course, the heart of the mystery is both. I invite you now to listen to verses 3 and 4.
Calvary's mournful mountain climb, there adoring at his feet, mark that miracle of time, God's own sacrifice complete. It is finished, hear him cry. Learn from Jesus Christ to die. Early hasten to the tomb, where they laid his breathless clay. All his solitude and gloom, who has taken him away? Christ is risen, he meets our eyes. Savior, teach us so to run.
I invite you now into a time of silent prayer and reflection. And now receive this blessing. Now may our Gethsemane God walk with you this day through the storms and into life. Amen.